Hello and welcome to the Friday, September 13th, 2024 edition of the SANS and its Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich and today I'm recording from Berlin, Germany. Well, thanks to Watchtower, we got a pretty severe case of a forgotten domain that was actually used in order to potentially compromise a large number of other domains. The problem here is that this particular domain .mobi-registry.net happened to be used as the domain for the Whois server for the .mobi domain registrar. .mobi recently moved its Whois service to whois.nic.mobi, but of course there were plenty of tools that had hard-coded the old hostname for the Whois server for the .mobi top-level domain. Most importantly, these tools were not just used by casual users of the Whois system, but they were also used by certificate authorities. Watchtower only realized that after getting a hold of the domain after it expired, and then was able, as a proof of concept, to obtain a malicious certificate for Microsoft.mobi. This issue then also allowed researchers from Watchtower to exploit some older vulnerabilities in Whois clients, in particular PHP Whois, which at the time they were made public didn't appear to be severe enough to actually deserve fixing. In general, you should always treat data you receive from outside entities with caution. Whois data definitely has had issues with odd content like JavaScript and the like in the past. So even without completely taking over a Whois server, like what happened here in this particular case, there is still some risk in accepting data from Whois servers. And just like any data crossing a trust boundary, it must be validated and potentially properly encoded. And if you are writing tools to retrieve Whois data, even if it's just for your own internal use, please allow for the Whois servers for a particular domain, including top-level domains, to be updated. The Microsoft security team published a summary of the Windows Endpoint Security Ecosystem Summit. This is a summit that Microsoft organizes for vendors that create security tools for Windows. And of course, one of the points of discussion was the CrowdStrike incident. It looks like Microsoft is now working on some specific APIs, so vendors no longer need to direct kernel access that in part caused the issue with CrowdStrike. However, it doesn't look like at this point Microsoft would commit to actually preventing vendors from tying direct into the kernel. We'll see how all of this develops. Of course, one of the constraints that Microsoft has to consider here is that it's not too unfairly supposed to compete with vendors creating security tools for Windows. And after all, Microsoft is creating its own security suite. Then we got a second Microsoft item. Microsoft announced that it is now implementing post-quantum cryptography in its SymCrypt cryptography library. This cryptography library implements all the basic algorithms. It's available on Windows and Linux. And that's, of course, the kind of action that I've been talking about and have been expecting after NIST did now finalize these post-quantum cryptography standards, and this will implement these standards. If you are a developer using cryptographic algorithms, it's certainly worthwhile taking a look at what Microsoft did here and see if this is something that you may want to make use of in some of your software. And GitLab released an update for its GitLab server. If you are running GitLab, then please take a look at the updates. There is one critical flaw being patched, and that allows execution of arbitrary code. So please update this as soon as possible. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for listening. If you have any feedback or such, please let me know and talk to you probably again on Monday. But depending on how travel goes on Sunday, there may not be a podcast on Monday. Bye.